those things and talk non-stop until they get to the end of the list, or if I'm allowed to interject and, you know, put my point of view, as in, really, did the doctor, what doctor? Was it 2 doctors? Was it 1 doctor? Did they do it under the Mental Health Act? Like, really, how did this doctor get the right to do what they did to Uncle John? In addition to, I also want to talk about Sierra, right? So that's what we're going to do when we get down there. But again, I'm going into an environment I've never been in before, and I don't know the procedure. So right there, you know, it's a skewed situation where there's prejudice, bias, and discrimination against the poor minorities in the province of British Columbia, Canada. Okay, so I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Try to, anyway. So, the battle has been won in terms of Fraser Health being tricksters and having their mini trial punish me. They prosecuted me. They found me guilty. Then they called me into court and they punished me. Now I gotta find out how much it's gonna cost. There was no dollar amount attached to it other than up until that date. I don't know what that means. So what? Lawyers charge $350 an hour? Or is that what they're gonna calculate? For the life of me, I don't know why they gave me this much paper. Right? Maybe that's why they have panic attacks when they see a notice of claim. Like, seriously, come in with 180 pages. Like, why? What is this? Right? Times 2. And I thought I liked paper. So I don't know why they gave me so many copies of mine back. It was unnecessary. But they're lawyers, they know what they're doing, right? And then they gave me back the original. Like, to me it doesn't make any sense because I already had my own copy. So besides that point, maybe I'll just send one of those copies to Governor Christie in New Jersey. Although I'd like it back to back because then it just kind of goes down a little, you know, in terms of paperweight, sending it across the U.S. border. I'm still going to do that, people. Okay, so I'm confused because I was hearing 2 different things. Well, I was hearing a lot of things, but what stands out the most for me was okay. I'm going to see if I can get a transcript. I'll probably have to pay for it. My youngest daughter is already offering to pay for it because she believes in me. Like, I've told her that I go to bed at night and I do soul searching on this, people, because I'm 55 years old. You know, my children and my grandchildren and great-grandchildren and whatever, they have their whole life ahead of them. My life is already half over, right? So, you know, what is the purpose of my life? In some ways, I've made a lot of bad decisions in regards to, and I don't want to say this, but in regards to the nonprofit. Because it sucked up so much resources from me as an individual and from my family in order to promote the mandate. You know, universal school meal program, children's programs, school restoration in the United States of America, you know, just the whole 9 yards. All with good intent. Little did I know that it was threatening to the political establishment, right? In terms of if the community, as a as in solidarity on a provincial level, was to get its act together in terms of taking care of the most vulnerable in their communities within the province, as in with solidarity. that is still connected to the country. Because you have to remember, when I founded the nonprofit, my goal was to reach as many children as I could, right? To help people in Canada, obviously, but also people in the United States. Because at the time when I founded the nonprofit, my life was good. My children were happy. And I felt like I could bust out of the bubble that I was in terms of being entrapped in a political atmosphere where I couldn't grow, right, as a human being. And because I was looking after Uncle John and I had the kids, you know, again, I formed a nonprofit, and because I wanted to really make a big impact in the world and reach as many kids as I could, especially with the ones in the United States in comparison to what the Canadian children had in those days in terms of safety nets and that type of thing. Right? You know, that's how the nonprofit came about. And what's the best way to reach the most kids is through the school systems, right? You know, whether it's a lunch program or, you know, building maintenance or just music programs or whatever. But as I went out into the community and, you know, tried to get people to participate into the school meal program, you know, it was always, well, that's a government initiative. The government should be paying for that, and I want to look after cats. Oh, well, it's a government's initiative. The government should be paying for that. I'm not going to give you $1 for a school meal program because I'm worried about this little project over here with the homeless people. Oh, or you know, I want to give to the Christmas Bureau, or I want to do this, or it was always something else. So that's how those trust accounts came into play. Okay, we got that out of the way. So 17 years later, tens of thousands of dollars later, you know, being publicly humiliated, being publicly defamed, you know, being run through the mud, having politicians play games with you, you know, go home and write more, and then, you know, you turn on the debate, and there's Christy Clark, you know, talking about what you wrote. Because her speech writers read what I wrote and then wrote it into her speech, and then she's on the podium talking about it to the public, selling it to the public as if it was her idea. Like, you know, it's just bullshit. So, you know, looking back, did I make a mistake doing the nonprofit? Well, you know, I really don't know yet. You know, the game isn't over. You know, sometimes I think so because, you know, people try and derail me from it. I have no money to put resources into it because I'm just trying to maintain on the family home. You know, I'm putting resources into Uncle John's because it costs paper and ink and, you know, and whatnot. And I'm not well. It's not like I can go off and make costumes and make money. You know, I can't work, right? It's just like, so, you know, I look back and I'm thinking, well, you know, if you would have spent that $40,000 on a down payment on a home, you wouldn't be sitting in this house today wondering every second day if you're going to get kicked out for whatever reason. Because it would be your home. I'm not saying that the taxes wouldn't go higher and I wouldn't have problems like a homeowner, but at least it'd be my home, where once I leave this place, that's it. Okay. So, why am I ranting on about that when I'm talking about Uncle John's lawsuit? Because when I go to bed at night and I think, okay, you just wasted 17 years of your life on something that was good, that many people have tried to make it ugly for whatever reason. The Dunk clan have definitely made it ugly. They've made it extremely hard for me to promote this nonprofit. Same thing with Fraser Health Authority and CIBC Bank. Both those corporations and their corrupt employees within that system have made it extremely hard for me to promote the nonprofit in the way it was meant to help the communities across Canada and the United States. Because you have to remember, the Canadian children, in essence, back in 2000, 2001, especially before the BC Liberal government came into power, were better off than tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of children in the United States of America. So what Canadian wouldn't want to help those kids, regardless of their ethnic heritage, when their kids were okay? Well, fast track 17 years later, bring in a corrupt political system that, flew over from the freaking United States of America, brought in some, because it's not all Americans' fault, but some of it is, people, brought in crooked, rotten politics that, is now, 17 years later, is decimating families, right? To prop up a union that is overbloated and has too high expectations, and Governor Christie will stand with me on this one because he sees it. He works in the real billions of dollars. It goes through his budget for the last 8 years, and he sees the projections. He has the professional people that do the numbers, and that's throughout the whole country, and that same problem is here, as now they're bringing in the wealthy immigrant to buy up all the houses that these old people are retiring out of as they go into the hospital, end up in the hall on the gurney with their opiate to keep them quiet until they can be shuffled around in the hospital. And as the social workers are picking and cherry picking and choosing who has the best house, who has the best pension plan, who has the best bonds, whatever the hell, who has the most vulnerable family to kick off to the fucking curb, right? Under some clause in a court setting, assuming that that family can even take it to court. So I'm laying in bed, and I'm like, you're 55 years old, you're broke, you're broken as a human being, right? You've been smeared, right? And everything else in terms of your character, in terms of the public eye, right? You're weak because you've lost 15 pounds and you haven't gained it back since 2013, basically. Right? You're constantly being gang stalked from one municipality to another ministry, back to a municipality, back to some foreign entity on the internet that can hide behind YouTube thumbs downs. Wherever it comes from, it doesn't matter. The point is, I'm laying in bed and I'm like, okay, well, what's your destiny? What are you going to do now? You tried to found a nonprofit. That didn't work. I'm not saying it's over. I'm just saying it doesn't seem to be going anywhere yet. And, there's only so much time I can invest into it because, I do have to look after Uncle John. I do have to look after my children. I do have to look after my grandson, more than one. My youngest daughter is having a baby now, so it may be a little girl this time. I may have a little granddaughter. When does it leave me time to work on this stuff, people? Like, seriously, when does it leave me time? Right? I'm trying to figure out how I can mail something out to Governor Christie. Because he's a lawyer. He doesn't like union gluttony. Right? Right? He knows he has a problem. Whether he's going to remain as a governor or not, it's not going to matter. The problem is still going to be there, right? In terms of not enough money paying out those pension plans and those superannuation life insurance policies and those dental plans and those medical care plans and those expenses and all these other perks that these people get. He's got 800,000 government employees. We've got 400,000 government employees, but we both got the same problem. So I'm laying in bed, and I'm like, okay, you've gone this far. We know people don't acknowledge you to be intelligent, right? Because it's just easy to come in and do one of those. Or, do some mumbo jumbo in some court setting, which I'll get to. Right? To toss it out, because they won the battle, people. We knew that was coming, right? But they haven't won the war yet. I think the war has just begun, really. Because the last thing I said to that judge before I left that courthouse is, I asked him, I said, can I appeal? Can I do that? Oh, yeah. I said, okay. Now that I know I can do that, can I file another one? Yeah. Good. thank you very much. And I left. As I'm trying to process in my mind what just went on. I don't even think I got 20 minutes. I think I got 15. Because it was a staged trial. They gave me number 13. I was number 13 on the list. So there's the first thing, gaslighting. Oh, we'll just give her number 13. Okay? But you know what? For me, number 13 is a wild card. Right? It goes into 14, and once you go into 14, it opens up everything. Okay? I don't see it as a bad thing, because back in the day when the nonprofit was registered with the registers of companies, for some reason the society over there, they registered on November 13th. I couldn't phone up the registers of companies and say, well, I don't like that day. I don't want November 13th. Change the day. No, it was registered on that day. That was the number that I got, and that's the number that I've had ever since. So when they gave me 13 today, I didn't see it as a bad thing. I seen it as a wild card coming in. But, again, I'm laying in bed and I'm asking myself, is like, where is my life? Where do I invest my energy for the last few years of my life? It could be 2 years, could be 5 years, could be 10 years, could be 20 years. I don't know how long, it could be 30 years. I don't know how long I'm going to live, people. I just know that my life has to mean something for somebody. And obviously, at the top of that list should be my children, my grandchildren. I almost want to, and I do, to be honest with you, I really want to put Uncle John first. It should be him, my children, my grandchildren, obviously any little grandkids that come along the way, whether I see them or not, they're coming. And then myself. If you notice, I'm putting myself last. Whether my kids come first, then Uncle John, or whether Uncle John comes first, then the kids, at the end of the day, I'm at the bottom of the list. Right? To try and ease in the suffering, I guess you could say, that I have to go through in order to deal with this problem that I have with going to court for the right reasons. Okay? Because if I didn't feel it was for the right reason, I wouldn't go there. Any more than if I didn't feel founding the nonprofit and having it grow in the manner that it grew over the period of years, even though it doesn't seem to be very successful at this point, I wouldn't have done it. If I didn't feel that it doesn't have potential to create goodwill, great laughter, peace and harmony within the communities that bring it into their own communities to make it better for everybody, I wouldn't be sending it to Governor Christie in New Jersey. Okay? Or anybody else that I've sent it to over the last 10 years to the United States of America. Or given it to in Canada. So, but Uncle John is the priority. Because we miss him. Right? The judge asked me, do you know if he's alive? I said, I really don't know. I said, I think so, because I tried to pull up an obituary and I didn't find one. So yeah, I think he's still alive. You're all depressed? I said, yeah, we are all depressed in this house. We'll be depressed forever until we can say goodbye properly, people. Right? So, I'm laying in bed and I'm doing the soul searching. And I have to decide whether I want to take a paper shredder and shred up the paper and what? Start working on the nonprofit again? For what? To be defamed, humiliated, right? Lied to, you know, whatever people do. I've had people hold my books hostage on me in terms of the nonprofit accounting books. I've had women, jealous women, you know, keep them in a bag for months on end, and Revenue Canada's calling me and saying, well, you know, when are they being done? And I'm like, well, I can't even get a hold of them because the treasurer at the time wouldn't give them to me because she wanted to sabotage me. I've had more than one woman do that to me. Right? I've had people come to the park and try and pull down American flags and think that it was their park event and they had the right to do that. And I'm fighting with complete strangers in a park event, telling them, no, this is my park event, those are my flags, and they're staying up. Like, who has to do that? I try and, communicate with other ethnic communities in my local area to try and get them to participate, but they don't even see me as their equal. Never mind trying to network into the white community, the Caucasian community, who only see me as white trash. But if you notice, I still work on the nonprofit for whatever reason. So I'm laying in bed and I'm doing my soul searching, and I'm soul searching on Uncle John. Like, what do I do, John? What do I do? I'm tired, I'm worn out, I don't feel very well, I'm being gaslighted, I'm being stalked, I'm being harassed, I'm being attacked, I'm not getting very much support, right? I'm hanging on a thread. You took up the best years of my life, John. I have nothing left to give. And what little I do have to give, people just mock, like what happened today, through word games. When you were already set up to fail, I was prosecuted before I went in. I was found guilty before I went in. And when I went in, they went in for the kill and they punished me with word games. So here's the point of this video. Here's the word game. I don't understand exactly how they threw it out, other than to say John released himself. He was a competent, functioning adult on the day he was released. Because on the day that he was released, Fraser Health apparently, from what I heard, now you have to remember, my mind's like this, right? I'm trying to absorb everything that's being said between the judge and the lawyer, right? Waiting for my turn, not really knowing what to say, but I just know that I gotta spit it out real fucking fast because I know I'm gonna be cut off real fucking fast. So I'm like in panic mode, but I gotta be confident and not cry at the same time. Like, it's messed up, people, right? And you know what Fraser Health said? Oh, we don't know what happened to him after he left. We released him and he was gone. I am almost positive that's what that man said. And I'm like, okay, so John released himself. But yet, on the other hand, here's that, well, one day he's confused, next day he's not. He's confused when he wants to go home to Judy and the kids, a place that he's lived for 23 years. He's very confused. We can't allow that to happen. But on the day when he wants to go to convalescent care, even though he flat out tells them that he doesn't want to go, he's not confused then. Right? Because, the lawyer's looking to throw it out, right? So, he reminds the judge under that clause with the, Child Protective Services with the child that the doctor took control of because the doctor had the precedence. So now they're treating John like a kid, right? It was the doctor, because they have no obligation to me. They had the obligation to the patient who at that time was overtaken by a doctor based on the mentality of him being a child. But yet he released himself to the point where when he walked out of that facility, Fraser Health never looked back. That's two different messages, people. Then they brought up the tobacco thing. I didn't quite catch wind of what that was about, other than none of it made any sense to me, right? Because again, it's happening so fast. I'm trying to absorb what they're trying to say here, right? And what else did he bring up? They focused on the fact that I put my name. I put my name on the lawsuit. I didn't put my name and my children's names with John's name. It was just my name. I didn't put John's name and then come in as a representative to John. I just put my name. Because my name represents all the kids, all the grandkids, and Uncle John. Because we were a family unit. But they don't want to acknowledge that. So they took that one individual person, me, and said that Fraser Health was not providing me with any services at that time, so therefore they committed no crimes. Even though when I got up and I started talking, and of course, I'm trying to be like I said, confident, right? But yet on the verge of tears, right? My brain is like this because I don't know what I should be drawing on first in terms of what's most important compared to what's not. So I'm, and I'm like, I was in panic mode because I knew I didn't have very much time. And then I got passionate and I got emotional, right? And then apparently my daughter was crying in the back where the judge had to say, and my grandson started bouncing around in there. And then he asked them to leave. He asked my daughter to take my grandson out as my daughter's crying like a baby. I'm on the verge of tears by this time, but yet still trying to be firm. Reminding the judge that I've been gaslighted from municipalities, whether it's freaking the city or whether it's MCFD on a provincial level. It doesn't matter. They're municipalities, right? And that we missed John, and that I had enduring power of attorney, and that they broke rules, right? And I try to rattle off a few, acts or whatever I think I did. I reminded him I had the criminal code in my hand. I said, and they broke rules under the Criminal Code of Canada. But they kept focusing on, but you know what? We didn't give you the opiate. You weren't the one laying on the gurney. We didn't test you. We didn't test you for anything. So therefore, you don't have a right to speak on behalf of John. The doctor does. Because John's an infant. But he wasn't an infant when he released himself from that care unit and disappeared from Fraser Health too. Not only did he disappear from me, but he disappeared from Fraser Health too. So therefore, Fraser Health is not accountable to that disappearance. That's how they threw it out of court, people. That's how they threw it out of court. And then said that's what John wanted. And oh well, too bad if you're depressed. Oh well, too bad if you miss him. Oh well, too bad if you still love him, basically. That's basically what happened. So, but at the end of it, I made sure I asked him, well, okay, if you're going to throw it out, can I appeal? Yes. Can I file another one? Yes. Okay. And I went straight to the resource room that helps you with that type of paperwork, and I asked him, how many days do I have before I have no more time to make this appeal? I have 30 days, people. 30 extra days to continue working on this list of documents and try and at least get them, for the majority, onto the correct form. I have 30 days to put a notice of application along with my appeal to bring CIBC Bank into the mix, because I asked that judge to bring the bank into the mix so that we didn't have to waste the court's time. I'm pretty sure I said that I was talking fast. They don't want to do that though. Right? So, with all that, within 30 days, with MCFD coming back to my house, God knows what else is going to fucking happen around here. How much time do you honestly think I have to daydream about the nonprofit, and as I'm laying there in my bed wondering what I should work on in my life before I pass? What is more important to my children? Working on a nonprofit that just allows people to beat me up, and I don't mean physically, but emotionally and psychologically and financially and just everything. I'm not a 6'2" man, with a nice physique that I can sell the public a bunch of bullshit, right, to become successful. I'm a petite little woman that's too outspoken, that intimidates people, right? And they don't want to see a person like me be successful. And that's why the nonprofit pretty much stays where it's at. I'm not saying I'm going to forget it. I'm obviously not going to forget it. But what is the most important thing when it comes to my family? I would think taking care of Uncle John. Trying to find out what happened to him and making it so that my kids can see him. Because if you notice, I'm sending in the kids first. Because he had his own relationship with these kids. Him and I call them the kids. Because you have to remember, Uncle John used to hold them when they were born. As a matter of fact, the minute ShaMay popped out of my vagina, guess where she went? She went straight from the doctor's arms into Uncle John's arms. And he sat there and he held her for hours. The minute she was born. Right? Don't you think that's the precedence before I take a paper shredder and go shred up all this paper just so I can still go and start working back on this stuff? Okay? For some reason, 3 of them are missing in the mail. I only got 9 today. There should be 12. And they're good to go because I put $1 in just a month or 2 ago in each account just to keep them going because we're on life support, people. Okay? So I'm looking after these. I'm just, waiting for the community to step up to the plate. Right? Kind of like the courthouse. I'm waiting for the courthouse to step up to the plate. I'm waiting for Fraser Health to, and I think I said that to the judge. I'd like for them to do an investigation into their employees, right? Fraser Health is a big, big, big corporation. Think of those 400,000 employees in BC. Think of those 800,000 employees in New Jersey. They both have healthcare systems, okay? Both of them are desperate for money. Both of them are eyeballing those old people coming in. And I did mention it to the judge that there's an iceberg coming in. You don't see what's on the bottom. You just see that little tip. Uncle John is just at the tip of that iceberg. Because they don't want to talk about that. They took the easy route out. Right? Now, whether it's because they know I'm going to appeal and it's just buying them more time to build a case for themselves, they want to accuse me of building a case? No, I think they're trying to figure out how to protect their fucking ass. I do. And this is just one way to do it. Oh, yes. And the power of attorney, the enduring power of attorney, the judge actually did acknowledge that it's probably still in effect. There is a high probability that it's still in effect. In other words, I still have that. He couldn't say yes and he couldn't say no. But because it's financial, it removes me from John's life. Because it was based on a financial institution. However, under enduring power of attorney, if the beneficiary, in this case would be Uncle John, became, a little loopity-loop, I still have the right to manage his assets and his affairs. And then, because the judge was like, well, no, not good enough, I said, yeah, but I also have video of him giving me a living document to be able to have access to his medical files because we were getting so stressed out. No. So, what? Did he release himself and he just disappeared from Fraser Health forever? Or was it the doctor that treated him like a child and enabled him to disappear? And they're just hiding that fact from the judge because they prosecuted me, found me guilty before I even went into the court, and then simply just punished me today to hide that. Right? So I'm laying in bed and I'm asking myself, I'm tired, I'm not well, Where do I invest my time? I don't really pray to God. My grandmother used to make me say these little prayers when I was a little girl, right? Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray to God, or how I don't even remember it anymore. You know, and God, please bless Uncle Nick. You know, please bless Auntie Jerry. Please, you know, bless Grandma, and so on and so on and so on and so on. So by the time you went to bed, you had blessed everybody in your family, right? Even though your family ended up abandoning you. But whatever. You know, so that's only because I dated outside of my race. I'm sure if I would have dated within my race, my family would love me. But besides that point, you know, I lay in bed and, you know, I ask for guidance. I really do. You know, where do I put my last years of my energy that I have, you know, in terms of, you know, having meaning for my kids and my grandkids. And obviously I don't want to abandon Uncle John, people. I don't. You know, you don't abandon a man like him, right? If he would have done this on his own, we used to fight, you know, and when he wanted attention from me and he was having his bad leg days and he didn't want to get out of bed, and I'd be like, John, you know, you need to get out of bed and walk around. You know what it's like if you don't walk. I'm leaving. I don't want to. And I'd be like, okay, what the fuck? I don't give a shit then. You go fucking leave, you know, and don't say I didn't fucking warn you, because if you fucking leave, John, I'm not going to have the resources to come find you. And I'd walk out of the room, and it was like a little fucking routine with him and I every now and then. You know, he needed that little kickstart to get out of fucking bed because of his legs, people, right? And then he'd come out and, oh, you know, I'm okay now, don't worry, you know, we're a family, stick together, let's go, what do you want to do, you know, let me help you. And then he'd be good for another month. 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever it was, until, you know, he crashed, because he took no pills, people, for 20 years. None. Absolutely none. And it's not like we didn't go to the doctor, and he couldn't have asked the doctor, or any of that. He didn't want them because he functioned better without them. That's why it was so easy. Be quiet, I'm almost done. That's why it was so easy for Fraser Health Authority and their staff to manipulate Uncle John in the manner that they did with that opiate once he ended up on that gurney in the hallway at the Surrey Memorial Hospital. It was game over from there.
I need a